Hey folks, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements. I illustrate them. I publish them online. I've been building supplements for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for the past 5 years. I publish it on DMsGuild. There's a slew of links in the description down below, but we've been building the next supplement here, Spelljammer Combat Exploration. It's a complement to the Spelljammer's Adventures in Space that Wizards of the Coast published last year. It just dives further into like the ship rolls, combat mechanics, exploration, a lot of just technical like physics type stuff that helps make campaign run. And I ran across a neat, fun conversation in Reddit recently. People asking about like how long does it actually take to get from one destination to another inside the Astral Sea, because there's no real rules about it. Essentially. The rules as written in Spelljammer's Adventures in Space is basically however long it is that you need for the plot to happen. It's Deus Ex Machina. But most people like to have a little bit more chunky mechanics, like something more concrete that they can use. Because generally a good idea is you can make rulings about how a circumstance should happen if there's rules that dictate what typically happens. So you can take like, what's the baseline of physics in this fantasy world to make things work, and how can we use that and riff off of it to be able to make the campaign to work that we needed to make work for the adventure that we're having. So the idea of the travel time being related to how familiar you are with the destination. And so you can, we're using teleport as our frame of reference. Teleportation, theoretically, I guess, crosses through the astral plane to get to your destination, but that's an instant effect. And your likelihood of arriving at the location that you want is based on how familiar you are, whether it's very familiar, seen casually, viewed once, or description only. And then there's the issue of false destinations. So essentially what we're looking at here is if you have when you're traveling from one location to another, depending on how familiar you are with the destination is going to dictate how long it takes to get there. If you grew up in Waterdeep in realm space and you're currently in the astral and you want to get to realm space, it'll take you D6 days to get there. But if you've only, like, say, heard of Xeraxis space and never actually been there before, then it could take you 26 days on average, or 12 days total. So it could be as little as 4 days. It could be as many as 48, and the DM can be the one that rolls that die, so the team never really actually knows. But like if you're trying to go someplace that you've never been before, or if you're trying to track something down that's in the Astral Sea, and or like for example, all wild space systems just naturally exist in the Astral Sea, but a person like your character could be in the Astral Sea, or could be in realm space, or say Avernus. They aren't necessarily in the Astral Sea. So if you're trying to get to a crystal sphere and you've, say, heard of a place called, Oz, and Oz doesn't actually exist, that's going to end up being a false destination. And so instead of these preset times of how long it's going to get there, it's going to read as the distance as a description, because you've never actually been there. Otherwise, it would be a real place. It wouldn't be a false destination. So it's going to take you 12 days. And when you get there, if it's a false location, then you're basically going to have getting there a DC 10 intelligence or wisdom check that can use insight, investigation, or perception for you to realize that there's something off about this location. I don't think this is the place. And every hour that you spend there, you get to roll again to be able to realize, wait, this isn't actually where we're supposed to be. And so the DM can control that die roll, or the players can, as your table, however it is your table plays across the DM screen, sally forth with confidence and just lean into the narrative of, well, like this is a great way for a DM to lead you to an adventure that they give you a false hook about something that doesn't actually exist, and then they know what it is that you're actually going to run into when you get there. Meanwhile, this was a false flag. So how can you research and get familiarity with a location? So you can gain familiarity by either like actually exploring and experiencing that space yourself, or by researching it. And so you can explore a location Hold on, let's zoom in here. There we go. Exploring a location requires you to directly view it through scrying and similar magic, or being physically within the chosen area. At the end of the duration, you automatically gain the degree of familiarity listed. For example, if you explore the Rock of Brawl for a month, you become very familiar with that location. So, very familiar while you're exploring. Viewing it once, logically, you're there a day. Yeah, I've seen this place. I've viewed it once. I've been there for a couple days. D4, yeah, I've seen it casually. But for you to actually like be really familiar with the place, it's like, yeah. Remember that cafe with that guy and those cobblestones and those dogs in that alleyway with that knife fight and the demon and you lost your soul? Yeah, I'm really familiar with that place. That's maybe you spent 21 days there. And so you can gain these different levels of familiarity by experiencing that place. But alternatively, you can do book research, or like it says here, researching can take the form of reading the information about the chosen location, speaking with others that have explored the location as detailed above, and through the use of divination magic like contact other planes. And so at the end of this duration, this is the degree of familiarity you get. Spend 2 days researching, you get enough reference resources like, yeah, I think this is a real place. If it's a false destination, then there's a lot of bullshit about that location in books that is an interesting source of adventure, like Atlantis has a lot of content about it here in the real world, but no one can really confirm whether Atlantis actually existed or not. But a lot of people sure as hell talked about it in the past. So if you were to able to flow into the astral and let the astral's intuition guide you to where maybe a point of entry into what is left of Atlantis would appear in a color pool, right? So like if you're exploring a location, let's see. Let's go back. If a target isn't in the Astral Sea, a traveler is led to either the nearest color pool that leads to the system or the plane of existence where the creature or the object is that you're trying to find is currently located, or it's a false destination, which is what we're describing here. It's a false destination. You get to realize it. But you don't know. You have a 50% chance either way of either being led to a color pool. If they're actually there in space, you'll be led to them. If they're not in wild space, then they're going to be you're going to be led to a color pool that'll show you a location or something that's related to this thing that doesn't actually exist. But like, hey, here's a close match to it, and then you have to figure out, is this actually that place or not? Or it'll just if it's actually in the Astral Sea, it'll just take you to the astral, like a location that like this is a rock, like we know of a gift fortress that's in the Astral Sea, and when we arrive there. I don't think this is it. That'd be a false destination. So you can be led to these different locations, and the DM can control what is actually there. If these things are real and you locate them, then you can dive into this is a real space. But if there's a false destination, or if the thing isn't in the Astral Sea and it leads you to another plane of existence or a different crystal sphere, you can have a campaign that jumps from location to location. Like if you're looking for your friend Fred, and he was in El Terrell when Descent into Avernus triggered, and like say you're playing the Spelljammer Academy that's on D&D Beyond to get your characters to 5th level, and then you go explore the Astral Sea. It's like, we should go find Fred, and then you get led to a color pool that looks into El Terrell that's currently in Avernus. You could just step through the color pool, and now you're inside the Descent into Avernus campaign without any information about what's going on at all. It's just, you just know Fred's there, and maybe Fred is like your sidekick or something, and he just like clues you in on what's going on, and you decide to take action with it. That's a fun way that a DM can introduce you to different things, or to be able to move you around space and create new types of adventure. Or like if you want to try to track something down, it's easier to find it in the Astral Sea based on how familiar you are with it. Just like finding traveling to an astral to a crystal sphere that you can find virtually anything, like a friend of yours, like it said, or like that gift fortress. You can find it in the Astral Sea, and the more familiar you are with that location, the easier it is for you to track it down, and the faster it is to get there. So you can roll an intelligence or wisdom, insight, perception check, and then you and depending if you succeed the check or not, you roll the duration twice. The player rolls and the DM rolls. The DM can keep that result concealed so that there's some mystery here. But if the players roll the die, they know that they failed the check, and they roll their dice, and they've only heard of Xerax's space, so they roll a 32. They're like, oh crap, it's going to take at least 32 days for us to get there. The DM may have rolled a 3. Or like in this, like maybe you rolled a 4 on the 40-12, right? Miraculous, a 4. If they had actually hit the dice roll of the 31 DC check to know that location, then bam, you're going to get there in 4 days, not 32. So you're like, we think we hit this, but it could take 30 some odd days for us to get there. So we better make sure we're ready for this. And then, whoa, it's only been 4 days and we're already there. That's amazing. So, and you can stop at different locations and have adventures and explore things without having to reset the duration of time, as long as, because you can take long rests and short rests while you're still in the astral to regain resources, even though you're technically not tired or sleepy or anything like that. You can still keep track of time in the campaign to see how many days are passing for the idea of, like, it takes an hour for a short rest. That's still going to register in the Astral Sea, because we still only have one flow of time in the game. So we can still use those mechanics to explore stuff. It's just you never have to fall asleep to be able to take that long rest, but you can still only take a long rest so often because you aren't fatigued yet. So, which sounds like a contradiction, but that's the magic of the Astral Sea, so enjoy it. So, so as long as you don't take a long rest, you can keep your timeline. And if you do take a long rest, you're not going to get any better. At worst, you're just going to delay the time. So as long as you don't take but if you do take a long rest and you reroll the die, it could actually take you longer to get there. So you want to explore spaces and be careful about your long rests while you're traveling to another location. But as long as you are still on the path towards your destination, you can take a long rest while you're traveling, and you won't change your timeline. Whoever the pilot, the navigator of the ship is the one that has to stay focused on the goal. So you can have your characters out running around and having fun, and the navigator can come with you. So when you wrap it all up and you get back on board, you got to get back underway before you take that long rest. Otherwise, you're going to reset your timing, and you'll have to roll again to see how long it's actually going to take. And so the DM could choose to keep the die roll that they had as their concealed dice, or they could make you reset to either speed it up because maybe you learned something at this location that you're at that somehow makes you more familiar or more in tune with the destination that you're trying to get to. Like maybe you realize your father's there, and oh my god, I've been trying to find my father forever, and he's at this location I'm trying to get to. Maybe the DM will secretly bump up the level of familiarity of the destination where you're going to, or reduce the number of dice that you're rolling, so the DM can play with those mechanics behind the screen to adjust the things that you're doing in the astral space, in the astral sea, on your way to the destination. So pit stops and tangents and exploring things can either help or hinder the team depending on how you play it out, on what the random stuff is that you run across. And if the DM wants to use the Astral Sea as a pseudo intuitive space, then the encounters that you're going to run across would naturally curve into what your goals and your objectives are. Or like if there's a conflict, like a character conflict on the ship, maybe that gets manifested as a type of creature or a location or like a storm that you encounter that would reflect the mood or emotions of the team. So the DM can really play into this fun narrative about what you're exploring and finding in the Astral Sea as you're going towards the destination that you're looking for. So that's some of the ideas. If you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I paint all these holes in the pages are where illustrations go. And we've been making illustrations for this book for the past year. So we're almost done. It's almost ready for publishing. There'll be an extensive preview on DMsGuild once it's completed. But if you want to check out the artwork, you can check out the Spelljammer playlist that I have here on my channel at Phil Kearney. I stream pretty much Monday through Friday every week for a couple hours a day, just creating more artwork that fills the pages. And once all the pages are filled and the layout looks good, we'll screen up all the hyperlinks so that the table of content works, and you can jump around inside the document from location to location based on the reference content that's inside of here. There's a 20-page conversion guide at the end of the book. So the first 80 some odd pages are mechanics about combat exploration, movement, scale, distance, visibility, character roles, ship equipment, all that stuff. And then the last 20 some odd pages is how to use all these alternate mechanics to embellish and complement the adventure Light of Xeraxis that's included with the Spelljammer's Adventures in Space. So we're giving you new rules, and then we're showing you how you can apply those rules to an adventure that already exists for use in Spelljammer in 5th edition, so you can see how these things can play together so that you have more tools available to you to be able to then go on beyond and start doing your own homebrew campaign or like a space point crawl campaign, whatever it is that you want to do. We help provide the tools for you to have the confidence of having just rudimentary rules of operation so that you can then make your own rulings and riff off of it to create your own campaign. So if you think that stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Would love to have you around. And I hope to see you guys in the future. So I'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot.